All right, thank you all for being here for the official weigh-in for UFC 289, Nunes versus Aldana, live from Rogers Arena. Saturday night on pay-per-view, and we begin with one of the fighters around whom this fight card was built, the number 5 ranked UFC women's bantamweight contender and first-time title challenger, Irene Aldana. 135 pounds, the official weight for Irene Aldana. All right, next athlete to the scale, the fighter around whom this fight card was built, the reigning, defending, undisputed UFC women's bantamweight and featherweight champion, the Lioness Amanda Nunes. 135, the official weight for the champion, Amanda Nunes. And with that, your title fight at UFC 289 is official. All right, next fighter to the stage, weighing in as a backup for our championship main event, the number 2 ranked women's bantamweight contender, Raquel Pennington. 134.5, the official weight for Raquel Pennington. All right, next athlete to weigh in is the number 1 ranked lightweight contender, former UFC lightweight champion and future Hall of Famer, Charles "Do Bronx" Oliveira. 154, the official weight for Charles Oliveira. All right, next fighter to the stage, the other half of the co-main event, one of the best lightweights in the world, the 4th ranked contender, Beneil Dariush. 156 pounds, the official weight for Beneil Dariush. And with that, your co-main event is now official. All right, next athlete to the stage, competing in a prelim live on ESPN in the UFC featherweight division, Blake Bilder. 145.5, the official weight for Blake Bilder. All right, next athlete to the stage, competing in the UFC women's strawweight division, Diana Belbitsa. 114.5 for Diana Belbitsa. All right, next fighter to the stage, competing in a prelim on ESPN at featherweight, Kyle Nelson. 145 pounds, the official weight for Kyle Nelson. All right, next fighter to the stage, competing in the women's flyweight division, Jasmine Jasudavicius. 125.25 for Jasmine Jasudavicius. Next fighter to weigh in is her opponent, the number 15 ranked UFC women's flyweight contender, Miranda Maverick. 125.5, the official weight for Miranda Maverick. All right, next fighter to weigh in this morning here in Vancouver, the number 10 ranked UFC flyweight contender, David Dvorak. 125.5, the official weight for David Dvorak. All right, next fighter to the stage, competing live on pay-per-view in the featherweight division, Nate the Train's in the building, Nate Landwehr. 145.25 pounds, the official weight for Nate the Train. All right, next fighter to the scale, charged with kicking off the main card live on pay-per-view in the middleweight division, Eric "Ya Boy" Anders. 184.75, the official weight for Eric Anders. All right, next athlete to weigh in this morning, one half of the featured prelim live on ESPN in the middleweight division, 14th ranked contender, the Action Man, Chris Curtis. 185 and a quarter for the king of combat, Chris Curtis. All right, next athlete to the stage, the man many of these fans have come out to see competing live on pay-per-view in the welterweight division, proper Mike Malott. 169 and a half, the official weight for Mike Malott. All right, next athlete to the stage, looking to keep his momentum going in the bantamweight division, Ayman Zahabi. 135 and 3/4, the official weight for Ayman Zahabi. All right, next fighter to the scale, competing in the women's strawweight division, Maria Oliveira. 115 and a half, the official weight for Maria Oliveira. All right, next fighter to the scale, making his UFC debut here tomorrow in the flyweight division, Steve Erceg. 125 and a half, the official weight for Steve Erceg. All right, next up, back to the bantamweight division as we welcome Aoriqi Long. 135 pounds, the official weight for Aoriqi Long. All right, next fighter to the scale, competing on the pay-per-view main card in the middleweight division, Marc-Andre Power Bar Barrio. 185 pounds, the official weight for Marc-Andre Barrio. All right, next fighter to weigh in this morning, the 12th ranked UFC middleweight contender in the other half of the featured prelim live on ESPN, Nassourdine Imavov. 185 and a half, the official weight for Nassourdine Imavov. All right, next athlete to weigh in, competing live on pay-per-view, the 13th ranked UFC featherweight contender, Dan 50K Ige. 145 and a half, the official weight for Dan Ige. All right, our final athlete to weigh in this morning, competing on the pay-per-view main card in a featured bout in the welterweight division, Adam Fugit. 170 and 3/4, the official weight for Adam Fugit. All right, thank you all for coming out. We'll see you for the ceremonials at 4.